Hey lovelies, it is time for me to share my winter eyeshadow palette picks. I am so very excited to do this video with you. I feel like it's been a minute. Maybe I'm blanking out on this, but I feel like it's been a minute since I've really taken time to celebrate some of my eyeshadow palettes. Now, if you caught my last live miss of the year, I did do a live sharing my winter makeup picks, some of the things that I know that I'm gonna be reaching for. But I did in that live stream say that I was holding off on talking about most of the eyeshadow palettes that I was going to be using until this video, because your girl can't just pick like one or two. I think I have 12 here to share with you today. 12. And honestly, I usually, when I'm doing this video, I usually go through and look at like the previous year if I did one to kind of try to keep it a little bit fresh. But this year, I just couldn't be bothered. I was like, you know what? These are the ones that I'm gonna pull out this year, whether or not I talked about them last year. And in all honesty, looking back at my year, I don't feel like I got a ton of new eyeshadow palettes. Did I get some new ones? Absolutely. But I just don't feel like it was something that I was purchasing a lot of. I did have a few sent in PR, which by the way, if any of these were, I will of course make sure to notate that. But there really just wasn't a lot of eyeshadow palettes that I was like, yeah, I really need to buy you and put you in my collection. And I think the reason for that is I went into 2023 right after doing my eyeshadow palette declutter. So I did one, I think in October last year. Well, last year now. Wow, it is 2024. Anyway, doing that made me, really look at, okay, what do I already have? What do I feel like I need? Is there something that I feel like I don't have? Maybe that's what I should focus on picking up this year. And I really don't think that there were a lot of eyeshadow palettes that I was missing. So what that probably means is there will be a mix of things in here that you can get, a mix of things that you maybe can't get anymore, but maybe you have them, and it'll be great to get reminded to pull them out this year. By the way, I'm thinking about doing another eyeshadow palette declutter. I'm thinking about it. Let me know if you'd like to see that down below. Anyway, if we haven't met before, my name is Kelly and I'm a professional hair and makeup artist. And here on my channel, I strive to keep beauty real. Real honest, real relatable, and real fun. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, don't forget to click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. We got 12 palettes to talk about. Let's get going. So this first one. This is actually the one that I have on my eyes today, and it is one that I'm pretty sure that I actually had in my fall picks. And this is the Pat McGrath Subversive palette. Today, I very simply just put this yummy chocolate brown matte all over, dusted a little bit of the Blurple shade on, and then I actually did this shimmery brown on my lower lash line, which I actually really liked. Just a like soft sort of wintry vibe today. It's funny because I think the reason I pulled this palette out for fall is I was thinking like purple, green, yes, I can do that. But I can also do those in the winter. I mean, let's face it, you can do whatever colors you want in the winter, but I just realized that I did not pull this one out and give it enough love in the fall. I think I used it maybe twice. And honestly, I think when I did that, it was like sticking to the neutrals in here and just did a really quick look. So I felt like to give this enough love, I should probably leave it out for the season. I definitely want to do a little smoky eye with this like shimmery, graphite color, I guess I would say. I definitely can do some more looks with this. I did actually pair this with another palette in here just because there aren't a lot of matte options in this. So I did actually pull out a couple shades from the next palette that I'm going to talk about. And this might be one that a lot of people wouldn't think about pulling out in the wintertime, but it's the Colourpop Going Coconuts palette. I don't think you can get this anymore. This, in the day when I was using quite a bit of Colourpop, this was probably my most used along with the Honey palette, but I needed just a little bit of a lighter softening matte around the edges of that brown just to really blur it out. And then I did actually use this Frosty shade as my inner corner. So this is just going to be nice to have out for a quick, leaning, cool toned neutral eye. I can also pull it out as a companion for other things. So I think that this is just one that I wanted to pull out. And I don't really think that I use this at all in the summer, which of course with the name Going Coconuts, you'd think that that's when you're pulling this one out, but I just haven't given that one any love in a while. And I'm really starting to go through and use some of the palettes. Maybe it's because I knew that I was thinking about doing another declutter, but some of the ones that I haven't reached for at all in a while, I'm like, you need to pull this out and see if you even like it anymore. And I definitely found that in my fall picks that I did in the last season, I was like, yeah, maybe you need to go. So there are some things that will probably be leaving my collection soon. Maybe it is time for a declutter, starting off the new year fresh. Let's go ahead and talk about the other Pat McGrath palette that I pulled out. And this is one of the Mothership Megas. This is Celestial Divinity. The reason I pulled this out was honestly mostly for the purples. I am really gonna try to give purple a shot this season. I did a few purple looks in the last season and I was like, gosh, you know, I sort of got away from doing purples and I was like, I don't know if that's really my vibe. And the couple purple looks that I did do, I was like, okay, maybe this is my vibe. And I feel like this time of year, like winter, sort of like dark, dreary days, sort of goes with a good smoky purple eye. I also think like maybe on a really like blah day, pulling out this shade here, that would be great. It'd just be like, give me all the bright. So I think I'm gonna try that. I probably should dust off this palette. It's looking a little sketch. Sorry about that. I'm not one to go through and like, you know, other than the palettes in like my pro kit, I'm not one to like and go through. I just don't have time for that. But this one has a lot of shimmeries in it, and so I think that they just all kind of like spread their love, and it's time to clean that up. Okay, so since we're on the topic of brands started by makeup artists, let's talk a little Danessa Myricks. I wanted to pull this one out because of a couple of reasons. Number one, I just haven't used this in a while. This is of course the Lightwork Volume 3 Infinite Light Palette. I haven't used this one in a bit, and I thought what would be really nice is I've found myself recently on days where I just want sort of like quick makeup. You know, over the holiday season, if you followed me on Instagram, I was talking about doing like a bold lip and a very quick eye. And what I'm finding is if I'm doing a really bold lip, maybe all I want is like a really iridescent eyeshadow and a little liner. And I thought that having these shades in the middle, which these are just like some of the most basic iridescent eyeshadows possible. If you are someone who has a lot of single shadows in your collection, then I think that these are going to be a little bit underwhelming, to be honest. They're not bad, they just, you know, they're fairly basic, but they're all in one place, and it would be an easy way for me to just get like a little light sheer color without having to like turn around, because right now all of my single shadow palettes are on the floor back here. I'm not gonna lie. That's something that's gonna happen this year, is I'm gonna get something to set to the side here. It's gonna happen. But anyway, so I just wouldn't have to root around. It would be a time saver. But other than just having those iridescent shades, I do have some beautiful rich tones to be able to pull out for the season. Like this teal moment down here would be a lot of fun. Which one is that? Orion. I guess it's technically up there. That's more of a glittery shade. So I just want to give this one more love. You know, when I bought this palette, I honestly mostly bought it just because of fangirling over Danessa Myricks. At the time, I don't know if I had as many singles as I do now, but I think even at the time, I probably could have looked at what I have and been like, I don't think that any of this is super unique, but I did buy it. I bought it, and that means that I need to get some use out of it. I do think, like I said, the convenience of just having all of these different formulas in one spot is really gonna be helpful. Like even just looking at this Martian shade. Let me go ahead and pull this one out. Ooh, yeah, this is a pretty, okay, I definitely, you know, Kelly is not usually a blue wearer, but here I am in like my purple eyeshadow, but I think that I could do something with that. Oh, it's pretty sheer. We'd probably put it over something, yeah, but that could just be a really pretty shade. So we're gonna pull this one out. You should too if you have it. Okay, I'm just gonna give a quick nod to this one because I did talk about this in my live that I did. This is the Nomad Whistler Snow Lodge palette. You cannot get this one anymore, but I really wanna pull this one out this year to use more of the blues. I just want to do a couple more blue looks in my life. And I think for me right now, the way to get some comfortability out of the blues is to just pair it with neutrals. I did do, by the way, on my channel a while ago, a video talking about how to wear blue eyeshadow, like tips and tricks if you are someone where you're like, oh, I kind of want to get into blues, but I just don't know how to wear them well. I will actually link that down below if you are curious to know my tips on wearing blues. I think I did 2 different looks. So I think I'm gonna get into wearing some blues, and I do think that winter is a great time to do that. And of course, there are some other really pretty shades in here, so we'll definitely be using that one. The other Nomad palette that I definitely wanted to pull out this season is the Royal Europe palette. This palette just has so many beautiful, rich jewel tones. And of course, they did some gorgeous multi-chromes in here as well. And I just think that a lot of these shades are gonna be what I would be reaching for this season. I have really been getting into the berries, the plums this season. I mean, that's always been something I've loved, but I've sort of been getting back into it a little bit more. And of course, you have some beautiful teals and blues in here, so I think this is gonna be a fun one to have this season. I really enjoyed this palette. I think that Nomad did a really great job on this as far as the color story inside. The packaging is absolutely stunning, so I wanna give it a moment. I haven't heard about this one in a while. I did see that they are sneaking something that's gonna be coming very soon, so I'm really excited for that. All right, I see this one sitting here, and I want to actually compare it a little bit to Royal Europe, because at first I was like, maybe I don't need to pull both of these out this season. But when I looked closer, I was like, actually, I feel like they'd be a good like combination. They could be a pairing. And this, of course, is the Kaleidos Club Nebula palette in collaboration with Angelica Nyqvist. I haven't pulled this one out in a while. So this is the palette that really made me look at Kaleidos. I really didn't know a lot about the brand. I, of course, started seeing the buzz here on YouTube, and I was like, And then I feel like since this launch, I feel like the brand used up all of their color creativity with Angelica, and now they're like, here's a nude neutral palette, which is fine. I ain't mad at it. But then it's like, here's a quad of a very monochromatic color story. Here's another quad. I'm like, come out with something interesting. So I want to pull this one out, and you can see here that, you know, you do have some similar shades, but I actually feel like there is enough difference in here that these two together could sort of combine. Of course, in the Royal Europe, you only have that like black-based multi-chrome vibe, whereas in here, you have a couple more like topper shades, you have some different shimmers, and then of course, the color stories are a bit different as well. So I think that these will be a good combo to be able to wear together, especially to be able to pull out a couple of these slightly lighter shades to combine with Royal Europe. You know me, that is the one thing that I will say about Royal Europe is I do wish, granted, you know, you only have so many shades in a palette, I do wish that there was a couple lighter shades, and there's definitely no like inner corner highlight in there. So these could be a good combination together. And I'm really hoping to see something more interesting from Kaleidos this year. Let me know down below how you felt about the evolution of the brand. Okay, so I was just talking about how I'm really enjoying the berry tones, and I thought that that would be a good reason to pull out the retro palette. Now, this is the palette that I used in my New Year's Eve look, which I actually really love that one. I will have that linked down below. So this palette to me is just such an epitome of kind of that like vampy winter vibe. I'm gonna just leave it there. And I really enjoy that you do have, you know, of course, the cooler, more berry tones, but you also have some warmer mauves over here. So I think that you can do a lot with this palette. In the video, in my New Year's Eve look video, I did pair it with a couple singles to sort of like make it more fun, make it a little more custom, but even just this on its own is a very pretty palette. So I want to get some use out of it this season, and I know that I definitely will. Another one that I would like to get some use out of, and I sort of pulled it out for the same colors, is the Colourpop Gather Round Sisters palette. Bought this a long time ago. Have I even used it? Boy, if I did, yeah, okay, I see I see a couple pans in here that have a little dip in them. So again, Colourpop's not really a brand that I buy anymore, but I was looking at this and I'm like, you have barely used this. Obviously, with this being a Hocus Pocus themed palette, I think most people think of this as fall vibes. It does definitely have a really nice fall vibe to it, but I'm looking here at these like nice berries. I've got this is one of these like, why do they keep doing these shades that it's like, it's a matte and it's got glitter in it, but you're never actually gonna see that unless you like pack it on with a flat brush. I don't know. Anyway, I mostly got it out for the berries, but I do really like this lovely tone right here. So I just thought it's time to get a little use out of this. And like I said, I really need to use some of my Colourpop to see if I want to keep it around at all. And actually what this is, it's a slight regret built off of FOMO, because I didn't pick this up in the first round when it came out. And so when they did a re-release, I'd had so much FOMO over not getting it that I bought it. And then immediately I was like, why did you buy this? Oh well, live and learn. Okay, this, oh, by the way, I should probably go back. The one palette that was sent to me, because I'm about to talk about another one that was sent in PR. The one palette that was sent to me in PR is the Royal Europe palette. I did purchase my Whistler Snow Lodge palette, but Royal Europe was sent to me. Is that it so far? Yes. So let's talk about the other palette that is in here that was sent to me in PR, and this, of course, is the Dragon Eye palette from What's Up Beauty. She's a cutie. She is a cutie. So this palette, I did a video with 2, 3 looks, something like that. Again, I just love the size of this palette. I think that this is just great to be able to travel with. Now, when I look at this palette, and I will say, I felt like in my video, I found that the mattes actually built up a little deeper than what they looked like in the pan. Because at first I was like, this is gonna be really light. They can be sheared out quite a bit, which I think could also be great for like a winter ethereal vibe, especially, I mean, this shade, I think it was the shade Fly, that I just really enjoyed. I could absolutely see, honestly, maybe I didn't even need to pull out that Danessa Myricks palette, because this one, just like all over the lid with a little liner and like a beautiful pop of color on the lips, I think could be really pretty. This is just one that I wanted to explore more this season. This was my first time trying the eyeshadow formula from this brand. I do think that it is really nice. I don't think that any of the shades in here are particularly unique if you have a lot of like indie eyeshadow, but I love the fact that they're all in one spot. It's a tiny little palette. It has gorgeous packaging. Okay, I think I keep talking about these darn Cindy Grace and Temptalia palettes and saying, I just need to try this a little bit more to decide if I want to keep it or if I want to like depot it and put it in my singles. This is the last time. This is the last time. I am going to use this one this season. Actually, I think both of the ones that I have would actually be a great option, but this is the deep version of the Radiant Reflection palette. And again, this is gonna be my vibe for this season. I pulled it out for these, but obviously we do have some blues in here as well. Now, if you are newer to my channel and you haven't heard me talk about these palettes, what I said was that I feel like each of these palettes needs a companion palette to go along with it, because I feel like I need more variation in like depth of color. I need a lighter transition shade. I want a more sheer like inner corner shade. Just the palette on its own isn't something that I'm gonna get a lot of use out of. So of course I will be pulling out my companion palette BYOP just to be able to have some things that I find that I'm often looking for to be able to add with this. I'm gonna use it this season. If I find that I'm not using it a lot this season, I need to decide if I want to just depot this or if I just wanna like pass this along. Okay. The last palette, I haven't actually used this one yet, but the color story is absolutely beautiful for this time of year. This was actually a gift from Natalia Lavrova when we were in Las Vegas. So the night we met up with Kara from Beauty and the Frizz and Ash from Dr. Ash and Her Makeup, Natalia was so very kind to gift us each one of the Haus Labs Eye Library palettes. And I already have the warmer toned one, which Natalia knew. And so she picked me up the slightly cooler toned one. This is, I believe, is volume 2. Yeah. So this, I mean, this, first of all, I think the mattes in these palettes are just absolutely stunning. Just so beautiful. These are like almost more of like a satin matte. I think they look so beautiful on the eye. So I think that the combination of a few like standby neutrals with some pops of color. This shade here, the Olive Bio Glitter, I don't know, it's not, I wish it was just a little bit more olivey. It's almost a little bit more silvery. It actually kind of reminds me of a shade in one of my Lisa Eldridge palettes, the Sorcery palette. It's not exact, but it sort of gives me that vibe because I actually just wore that one the other day. But I think that this is going to be a really nice, quick and easy palette to use this winter. Like if there is a day where I'm like, I don't want to have 16 shadows like the Mothership Mega to choose from. I just need a quick look. This will be a great one to pull out and I cannot wait to try it. I'm going to swatch this other shade. This, ooh, the feel of this shadow. I mean, is it an exciting shade? Maybe not, but the formula feels beautiful and I think it's gonna be a great winter color. So thank you again, Natalia, for that. So those are gonna be my picks this winter. Please let me know. I would love to know if you're gonna be pulling any of these out this season, and if there's a palette that is in your collection that you're like, I pull this one out every winter, don't forget about this. I would love to know that as well. I think I have a good variety of things here to get my 2024 off to a good start. And like I said, let me know if you do want to see an eyeshadow palette declutter. There are some declutters coming. There are definitely some declutters coming because I have a few categories that I'm ready to narrow down just a little bit. But as I'm like looking through some of my palettes, especially as I go through and start doing these like seasonal picks, I'm like, which is a sign that it's time for some of these to go. Not these though. These are staying. All right, lovelies. I will see you really soon.